Please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new sci-fi stories every day. Your support keeps us going. The Galactic Combat Academy floated in the void between three suns, its crystalline spires reflecting the ancient light of civilizations that had mastered warfare before Earth's first cell divided. Within its halls, the galaxy's elite trained towering brutari with chitinous armor, ethereal Zephyrians whose thoughts moved faster than light, and crystalline Vorthok whose bodies could shatter mountains. Each species carried the pride of millennia, genetic superiority carved into their DNA by countless generations of conflict. Training Hall 7 hummed with anticipation as alien cadets gathered for their monthly reflex trials. The chamber stretched impossibly high, its walls lined with holographic displays showing the greatest warriors in galactic history. Bioluminescent strips pulsed across the floor in geometric patterns, responding to the collective heartbeats of nearly 200 beings whose ancestors had conquered worlds. The air itself seemed charged with expectation and barely concealed arrogance. In the far corner, almost invisible among the towering forms of his classmates, sat Marcus Chen, human, 5'8", 160 pounds of what the Galactic Database classified as soft-world primitive stock. His dark eyes remained fixed on the testing apparatus at the chamber's center, while conversations in a dozen languages swirled around him like plasma storms. The Zephyrian to his left whispered telepathically to her companion about the pet primate, while a young Brutari noble clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his kind. The testing machine dominated the center of the holomarvel of engineering that had taken three civilizations 40 years to perfect. Sleek obsidian surfaces housed quantum processors capable of calculating trajectory, velocity, and reaction time down to the nanosecond. Targeting nodes arranged in complex patterns could generate laser beams, plasma bolts, and kinetic projectiles at speeds that challenged even the finest neural networks. Its reputation was absolute. The machine could not be fooled, could not be cheated, could not be broken. It measured truth. Instructor Kethva, a scarred veteran whose purple carapace bore the marks of the Rim Wars, gestured with one of his 4 arms toward the machine. Today we discover who among you carries the reflexes worthy of the Academy's legacy. His compound eyes swept the assembled cadets, lingering with obvious disdain on the human. The trials will separate the truly elite from those who merely aspire to greatness. A Vorthok noble named Crystalline Song of Victory rose from the front row, her diamond-faceted form catching and refracting the chamber's light into prismatic rainbows. At 7 feet tall, she moved with the fluid grace of living gemstone, each step resonating with harmonic frequencies that made lesser beings' bones ache. I shall demonstrate proper form for our ... newer editions, she announced, her voice like wind chimes in a hurricane. The chamber erupted in approving sounds, clicks, chirps, harmonic resonances, and guttural growls of encouragement. The machine activated with a sound like distant thunder, its targeting nodes swiveling to track the vortex movements. Red beams sliced through the air in patterns too complex for most organic minds to follow, but Crystalline Song of Victory flowed between them like water through crystal caves. Her reflexes, honed by a gravity 3 times Earth normal and predators that moved at supersonic speeds, carried her through the trial with obvious ease. The scoreboard flashed, 94.7% efficiency. The crowd roared approval. More volunteers followed. Zaxtel, the Brutari warlord, whose family had conquered 17 worlds, scored 96.2% with movements like striking lightning. A Zephyrian telepath named Mind Touchers, Stars achieved 95.8% by reading the machine's electronic intentions before they became action. Each performance drew cheers. Each score reinforced the natural order. The strong dominated, the swift survived, and humanity remained laughably inferior. Perhaps, Instructor Kethva said, his voice dripping with theatrical concern, our human representative would like to participate. I'm sure the machine has accommodating settings for less evolved reflexes. The chamber filled with what could only be described as alien laughter, a symphony of clicks, whistles, and harmonic distortions that painted pictures of amusement across a dozen different cultures. Several cadets made side bets on whether the human would even register a measurable score. Marcus stood without ceremony, his movements economical and precise. No flourishes, no dramatic gestures, just the quiet confidence of someone who had learned early that survival depended on not wasting motion. He walked to the testing area with steady steps, ignoring the whispers that followed him like shadows. His breathing remained controlled, his heartbeat steady at 60 beats per minute, while alien hearts raced with anticipation. The machine recalibrated for human physiology, its sensors adjusting for what the database termed baseline primate limitations. Targeting nodes hummed to life, red laser guidance systems painting geometric patterns across the chamber floor. The first beam would be simpler, single coherent light pulse, designed to test basic dodge reflexes. Even humans should be able to manage that much. Marcus settled into position, his stance neither aggressive nor defensive, but something in between, the posture of someone who had spent years moving through environments where everything wanted to kill him. His eyes tracked the machine's movements with the focused intensity of a predator studying prey. Though the assembled crowd saw only a primitive mammal about to embarrass himself, the laser fired. A coherent beam of red light sliced across the 15 feet between Marcus and the far wall, moving at the speed of light itself. Faster than conscious thought, faster than neural impulses, faster than anything biological should be able to perceive. The beam should have illuminated his chest for the microsecond it took to reach the wall, recorded his failure to react, and moved on to the next test. Instead, Marcus's hand snapped forward and closed around pure light. His fingers made contact with the coherent photons somehow, impossibly, his palm glowing red as he held the laser beam like a physical object. For a heartbeat that stretched into eternity, human flesh contained the fundamental forces of the universe. Silence, absolute, terrifying silence. 200 alien hearts stopped beating. Compound eyes widened. Crystalline forms ceased their harmonic vibrations. Neural networks crashed trying to process impossibility. The machine's targeting sensors swiveled frantically, error messages cascading across its displays in languages that had no words for what they had just witnessed. Error ... error ... recalibrating. Impossible input detected. System failure imminent. The machine's voice, normally steady and confident, wavered like a damaged recording. Sparks began dancing along its obsidian surfaces as quantum processors overloaded, trying to calculate the physics of what they had observed. In the stunned silence, whispers began first in the ancient Zephyrian tongue, then spreading through the chamber in a dozen languages. Deathworld reflexes, apex predator instincts. They move faster than thought itself. Old stories, dismissed as primitive mythology, suddenly carried the weight of demonstrated fact. Humans had once hunted creatures that could outrun hoverbikes with nothing but sharpened sticks. They had survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and global catastrophes that would have exterminated any reasonable species. Instructor Kethver's 4 hands trembled as he operated his control panel. The machine must have malfunctioned. We'll run the test again. His voice cracked on the words, compound eyes refusing to focus on the human, who had just shattered everything the galaxy understood about the natural order. Triple intensity, full spectrum, continuous fire. The machine reset with grinding mechanical sounds, its systems straining to contain forces that pushed against the boundaries of known physics. This time, when it activated, the chamber filled with a web of destruction-red lasers, blue plasma bolts, kinetic projectiles moving at significant fractions of light speed. The pattern was designed to overwhelm even the finest alien reflexes, to push the limits of what biology could achieve when enhanced by genetic engineering and cybernetic augmentation. Marcus moved like liquid lightning given human form. He didn't just dodge the incoming fire, he seemed to dance with it, his body flowing through spaces that shouldn't have existed, his hands reaching out to catch beams of pure energy and redirect them harmlessly into the chamber walls. In slow motion, had any recording device been capable of tracking his movements, observers would have seen something impossible, a human hand closing around coherent light, fingers that could somehow grip photons and bend them to his will. The machine's death was spectacular. Circuits overloaded in cascades of electric fire. Quantum processors, pushed beyond their design specifications by equations that violated fundamental physics, began a chain reaction that threatened to consume the testing apparatus entirely. Emergency systems activated, flooding the chamber with suppression foam, as alarms screamed warnings in galactic standard. The scoreboard, before succumbing to the spreading system failure, flashed a single message: measurement impossible, subject exceeds calibration parameters. In the chaos of sparks and alarms, Instructor Kethver found his voice, or what was left of it. "The machine," he whispered, his words barely audible above the dying electronics. "The machine was never meant to be broken. Nothing organic should be able to ... double quotes. He couldn't finish the sentence. 300 years of military service had not prepared him for this moment. Through the chamber, alien nobles rose from their seats with expressions ranging from fury to terror. The natural order had been violated. The carefully maintained hierarchy that placed refined, evolved species above primitive mammals had just crumbled. If humans could do this, if they could exceed the capabilities of machines designed to measure perfection itself, then what else were they capable of? Zaxthal, the Brutari warlord, stepped forward, his massive form dwarfing the human who had just redefined impossible. His species had conquered worlds through superior reflexes and overwhelming physical power. His family name was carved in the stone of victory monuments across 3 star systems. "Tricks and malfunctions," he growled, his voice like grinding stone. "Face me directly. Deathworlder, prove your worth against evolved genetics." Marcus turned slowly, his expression calm as still water. No arrogance, no swagger, no need to prove anything beyond what he had already demonstrated. His nod was simple acknowledgement of a challenge, but of inevitability. Around the chamber, betting pools erupted as aliens wagered on how quickly the Brutari would crush the primitive human. The sparring circle activated with a hum of energy barriers designed to contain violence that could shatter mountains. Zaxthal flexed claws that could slice through starship armor, his reflexes enhanced by generations of genetic optimization and combat drugs that would have killed lesser beings. He had trained from birth to be the perfect warrior, evolved on a world where everything was designed to kill, supported by technology that could predict an opponent's movements before they made them. He struck like a living avalanche, claws extending to their full 3-foot length, moving with speed that left afterimages in the chamber's atmosphere. His attack was precision itself, calculated to incapacitate without killing, to demonstrate the vast gulf between evolved superiority and primitive desperation. Marcus simply wasn't there. He flowed aside like water around stone, his movements so fluid it seemed impossible for a creature with solid bones and muscle tissue. The Brutari's claws swept through empty air as the human somehow shifted his entire body 6 inches to the left, in the space between heartbeats. Before Zaxthal could compensate, human fingers touched his wrist with the gentleness of falling rain and the inevitability of gravity. The 7-foot alien warrior stumbled, his enhanced reflexes, his genetic superiority, his lifetime of training, all of it, suddenly meaningless against something that moved faster than his nervous system could process. He spun, snarled, struck again with desperate fury, but each attack met only air, while impossible human hands touched him with casual precision, disrupting his balance, his rhythm, his confidence. "Enough." Instructor Kethver's voice cut through the chaos as the Brutari warrior stood frozen in the center of the sparring circle. 6 inches of human palm pressed gently against his throat. The message was unmistakable. In the time it would take Zaxthal to complete his next strike, Marcus could have crushed his windpipe. The human stepped back without ceremony, hands at his sides, expression unchanged. The chamber fell silent, except for the dying whispers of destroyed electronics and the harsh breathing of a Brutari warrior who had just learned humility. Marcus returned to his seat with the same economical movements he had used to approach, settling back into position as if nothing extraordinary had occurred. Around him, alien cadets pressed back instinctively, their enhanced senses detecting something in his scent, his posture, his very presence that screamed predator to their subconscious minds. Instructor Kethver's hands shook as he entered notes into his personal datapad. Human reflexes exceed machine parameters. Recommend immediate consultation with Academy Council. Possible revision of species classification urgently required. The words felt inadequate, like describing a supernova as bright, or a black hole as heavy. Within hours, word spread through the Academy's neural networks and quantum communication arrays, in chambers reserved for the galaxy's most powerful beings. Emergency sessions convened to discuss a single question. If humans could break machines designed to measure perfection, what did that mean for the established order? Fear spread like wildfire through species that had grown comfortable with their position at the top of the galactic hierarchy. But in Training Hall 7, as maintenance drones cleared away the remains of impossibility, one being remained unshaken. Marcus Chen sat quietly, remembering childhood games of catch with his father. The crack of baseball against leather, the split-second decisions required to survive Earth's urban predators. Simple skills, learned on a simple world, where the greatest threat was other humans, and the greatest achievement was making it through another day. Around him, whispered conversations in alien tongues spoke of legends older than Starflight. Stories dismissed as mythology suddenly carried new weight. Humans who had hunted creatures faster than thought, who had survived disasters that should have sterilized their world, who had reached for the stars with nothing but determination and the reflexes of apex predators. One Zephyrian cadet, her telepathic abilities finally allowing her to see past species prejudice, approached during the chaos of cleanup. Her mental voice touched his mind with something approaching reverence. "We have misjudged your kind, human. We saw primitive where we should have recognized refined. We saw weak where we should have recognized strong. Forgive our arrogance." Marcus smiled, the first genuine expression of emotion he had shown all day. "There's nothing to forgive. You couldn't know what you hadn't seen, but now you have." Later, in the privacy of his quarters, Instructor Kethfa recorded his final report. "The human-designated Marcus Chen has achieved scores that exceed our measurement capabilities. Recommend immediate review of species classifications and Academy admission standards. Note: machine failure may not have been malfunction, but rather accurate assessment of capabilities beyond our understanding." In the Academy's highest tower, beings whose decisions shaped the fate of star systems gathered to debate new realities. Should humans be banned from further competition? Should they be studied? Should they be feared? The questions multiplied faster than the answers, each possibility carrying implications that stretched across the galaxy. But in the depths of space, on a small blue world that had given birth to impossibility, similar scenes played out in training facilities and schools and gymnasiums. Humans caught baseballs and dodged traffic and survived each other with reflexes that defied measurement, not because they were enhanced or evolved or technologically superior, but because they were human, because they had learned to be fast not by breeding speed into their genes, but by facing everything that wanted to kill them and refusing to die. Marcus Chen stood at his quarters viewport, looking out at the stars that his species would someday walk among, as equals or perhaps as something more. The galaxy had spent millennia measuring reflexes, calculating responses, quantifying the speed of life and death. They had built machines to capture every possibility, to define the limits of organic capability. They had never considered that some things were meant to break their machines, that somewhere in the vast cosmos, a species might exist that moved faster than measurement, reacted quicker than calculation, and achieved the impossible through the simple act of being human. Behind him, his datapad chimed with assignment notifications and study schedules. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities to exceed expectations that had been set too low. The galaxy had machines to measure reflexes. Humans had reflexes to break machines. The stars watched and waited, and perhaps for the first time in their ancient existence, wondered what other impossibilities might emerge from that small blue world where evolution had crafted not gods, but something far more dangerous, humans who refused to accept limitations. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to this channel and support us so we can post new videos every day. Your support means the world.